my first guest with us today is going to maybe with us run over a little bit in the next segment, but that's okay because we only scheduled 3 people for today. Is David Rose with California Department of Veterans Affairs. And so, David, I've known you for a while and kind of what you do, but you want to explain how the California Department of Affairs is set up as far as different units?
Yes, I would love to, Robert. And thank you for having me on today.
Yeah.
So basically, California Veterans Affairs, known as CalVet, is a very active state agency because we have the most veterans in California out of all the states. CalVet's main mission is to connect all the veterans to their benefits and to improve their quality of life and their dignity. So we have to come up with strategies in order to do that. CalVet is basically broken up into 3 divisions. We have the retirement homes, which there's 8 of them in California, 1 right here in Fresno. We have the home loans division, which is if you're a veteran residing in California, you're eligible for a CalVet home loan. And right now our rates are at 3.5%. And this is what they tell me.
Yeah.
They don't use a credit score to qualify a veteran.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to back up for a second and cover a couple of points you covered. We still have 1 more unit left to go.
Correct.
I have been out to the California home out there, and it is a beautiful place. I was out there before they had patients, and I've been out there since. And does a veteran have to have enlisted in the service out of California or just be a resident of California and a veteran?
Well, that's a great point, Robert, because sometime before I worked for CalVet, there was different legislation that said you had to enlist from California. That's all been revamped. And now if you're a veteran and you reside in California, you're a CalVet.
Okay, and that's the same
Point
thing
blank.
for home loans?
Home loans for any CalVet services whatsoever.
Okay, now, do you want to tell me about the third one now that I've interrupted you, got us off track?
Right. Definitely want to talk to you about Veteran Services Division. That's who I work for, and basically I'm a field agent, and I work collaboratively with federal, state, and local agencies, bringing them all together throughout the Central Valley to assist veterans in need. We do that through a myriad of events and plannings and just tailored events, targeted events towards certain veterans.
Okay.
We also, if I can.
Yes, please, go ahead.
We also are a power of attorney for veterans claims, which means all of our representatives are accredited with the federal VA, and we do over half the claims for compensation in California.
That's a good point. I know that from time to time I get a referral from your office coming in. A lot of times that has to do with aid and attendance. But we're kind of doing a home show today. Kelly Metz is on, and David Murchison and his brother. We're going to be on a little bit too. And these are people I've worked with and Marcy worked with over the years, and we've at least have a good knowledge of what they're doing, or they wouldn't be coming on the show, of course. But one of the things I see constantly around town is some guy standing on a street corner, or a woman sometimes, holding up a sign, homeless vet. You and I spoke briefly. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would love to address that because I'm sure it catches the eye of many a caring person as they drive by. Myself and the County Veteran Service Officer both have personally approached these at various times, offered them our card and assistance, and told them where to go if need be. And then sometimes I might even quiz them to see what unit they were in, and I would say a lot of them aren't truly veterans, because I can tell by the answers. So it's not that there's not a homeless veteran need, but those guys panhandling do not really represent that population that I'm talking about.
Okay. So you've been doing some work, you said, with homeless veterans issues. You want to talk about that for a few minutes?
Yes, I'd love to, Robert. Fresno was identified as one of the 26 Cities Initiative federally, started about 2 years ago to end homelessness, and with a targeted population of veteran component added to that. So they've been working it and planning for a couple years. Well, we finally had the final action camp yesterday. And that's all the main players. You have the Central Valley Veteran or VA Homeless Program. You have San Joaquin Valley Veterans, which is the holder of the homeless grant administered by the VA. You have the Fresno Housing Authority, the Poverello, and the Rescue Mission. They were all present, and Calvet. And what we came up with, one of our action items is we need more landlords to connect with the VA homeless program and make their vacant units available. And I have a phone number that I could give out for that.
Yes, please.
Okay, would love to. Because right now, we have 60 open HUD-VASH vouchers that could house 60 veterans if we had places to put them. And the VA homeless program for Fresno phone number is 559-225-6100, extension 5764. And ask for Gerald Salas.
Okay. There's, I don't know if you know about it, but there is a California Apartment Owners Association, and they have a very active branch here in Fresno. And if you,
Because they probably have 5,000 to 6,000 units in their membership around town.
Right. From eavesdropping yesterday on some of the agenda items, they do have a collaborative that they meet with,
right.
and they're going to concentrate more on getting them to open up to the veteran population, because it's like a Section 8 voucher, but it's
Right.
veterans specific. So a lot of these units might be in disrepair, so there's also the action item of getting faith-based industries to donate so we can repair these to get them ready for veterans to move in. But that is a good point, and they are working that issue also.
Okay, very good, because some of those landlords are really good, and some of them are in it for the dollar.
I found out sitting on board, but most of them have a pretty good heart and they'd like to cooperate if they can. So besides the voucher program, is there any other programs that are available for homeless vets?
There definitely is. There's a organization called San Joaquin Valley Veterans that have 3 offices, one in Hanford, Fresno, and Stockton. So they cover basically from Stanislaus County all the way down to Kings County, Kings and Tulare. They do rapid rehousing. So in a lot of instances, they can house the veteran immediately until a HUD-VASH Section 8 voucher opens up. They work hand in hand with the VA homeless program, but I would like to give out their information
Yes,
also.
please.
It is San Joaquin Valley Veterans. Their main office is 559-225-8838.
So they need to be able to get in touch with these people to help them get into homeless things. We also talked that earlier, and you and I know it because we're both veterans, as is Charles. I think everybody in your office practically is a veteran.
Right.
There is a big issue in this town with PTSD and crimes, and in some areas in the country, and the state of California included, they have established what they call veterans courts, where they, if you will, divert, is my language, not yours, divert a veteran into this program. Because as I understand it, from talking with you and Charles and doing this for the last 6-7 years, if that veteran has a felony conviction, they lose, as I understand it, all of their rights under the VA, or just some of them?
Just some of them, and it depends on how long they're incarcerated for.
Okay.
So according to CFR 38, which governs all veteran benefits, on the 61st day of incarceration is when they lose all benefits. If it's pension, they lose it the day they're incarcerated, because pension is for housing purposes.
Okay.
And so definitely talk to a county VSR if you want to know more about this, because I don't have the reg out in front of me right now.
Right.
But as far as the veteran treatment courts, they're county driven. And right now, Kern County has one, Tulare, Kings, Fresno's halfway there, and going north in the Central Valley, they're still in the talks.
Right. Well, I'm a member of the California Senior Legislature. One of the things they wanted to establish was senior courts, and that's supposedly in the works there. The senior legislature is a counterpart to the regular legislature. We recommend laws to them that affect seniors. And several counties have senior courts, and they're put up for a reason. If a
veteran is in this felony program and he has committed a felony, say he's gone to state penitentiary, which makes it a felony,
and comes back out, can you explain briefly what kind of benefits he may get?
Okay.
Or he or she?
Yes, yes. Okay, they must keep their release paperwork and go straight to the County Veteran Service Office nearest them. This book that CalVet is known to circulate has all the counties alphabetically and their addresses, contact information, and get the benefits started back up again. Whatever they were receiving, within a few months' time, can't guarantee timeframes, it'll be reinstated.
So they can get benefits back after the
Correct.
conviction?
And they should link up with the Veteran Justice Outreach person at the VA Homeless Program who will help transition them to help, house them and to connect them to other services such as myself.
Right. So is Fresno in line to set up this Veterans Court?
Good time to talk about that, Robert. The misdemeanor diversion court is already in process now. When a veteran goes for a misdemeanor charge, they're asked if they're a veteran. The public defender also asks, and if so, there's a form that's sent to the County Veteran Service Officer to verify. Then at that point, they can go through the diversion program, which includes treatment, and most likely it will not be on their permanent record. We did have talks at the felony level, and everybody is in agreement that we should move forward with it, but no time frame is set as of now when that will start.
Okay. I know it's an issue because I was consulted with another attorney who had a young man who'd served 3 tours in Iraq and had traumatic brain injury and a lot of PTSD,
Right.
and had committed a felony crime, and the DA was not interested at all in any type of diversion. They just wanted him to go to jail because it was a robbery, and they felt it was there. And a lot of times the district attorney county offices will get hung up on the felony conviction rate because that's the way they measure their success. That's not the way to measure success at all. Now, out of the Fresno County, Charles Honeycutt is the Veteran Service Officer for this area, but he also has Madera as well.
Correct. He's one of the few County Veteran Service Officers I know that actually subcontract out and cover 2 counties.
Right.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he is. He's been a great source of information, and he's a real dynamo. I guess he's going to retire in a few years. He'll be sorely missed, but I'm sure you guys will find somebody to take his place. There's some other programs I want to talk about briefly that'll be a lead into the next segment. So the next segment, we're going to kind of split in half. I'm going to talk for a few minutes with David again about aid and attendance because it refers into housing as well, how that can be used to help get housing and some of the qualifications for that program. And that program has a lot of abuse in it nationwide.
Right.
Yeah, and it's, I had a very terse discussion with one of the VSOs at one of your guys' state conferences about that very issue. So we're going to take a break and go out to commercials here, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to have Kelly Metz come on, and by that time my partner hopefully will be back from court, and she can come in and help do some of the interviewing. Okay, so we go to break. Okay, I'm Robert Houck from Houck & Downing, elder and veterans law firm. Here with David Rose from the California Department of Veterans Affairs, CalVet. And I want to talk real briefly because we're getting into housing. We're going to bring up some housing people for talk today about assisted living places and about residential care places. But there is an issue called aid and attendance. It's one of the benefits available to people who served in wartime. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you had to have 90 days of consecutive service, not training time included, 1 day of which has to fall within specified periods of declared war. And for Vietnam, it starts in, I think, 1964 something and ends in 1970 something. The Gulf War is still open-ended.
Correct.
World War II ended in 1946, started in 1941 sometime. Korean War I don't remember the dates on that, but I think it ended sometime in 1955 or 56. I have them in our office. I hand them out to veterans so they know. But aid and attendance depends upon the time you served. Again, as I said, the 90 days consecutive, which not 1 day has to fall in that period of war,
Right.
and it has to be not training. You can't. A lot of guys come in the National Guard or whatever, and they go on boot camp and they, especially training or whatever, and they're there for more than 90 days. But it's training, so it doesn't count at that time.
Correct.
But then they have to have a physical need or a mental need that qualifies where they need help.
Right, or be 65 years of age.
65 years of age. Then they can qualify this. But there's been what's called pension poaching, which is I'll let you explain that term.
Well, right, pension poaching is something that my bosses up at Sacramento have told us always to keep our eyes out for, and that would be certain law firms or non-legal representatives for the VA that come to retirement homes and give a briefing. It's illegal to charge for this fee, but what they do is they charge for the consulting fee up front. And sometimes, and they're basically robbing the people of a free service that's provided by the counties and other places. And what they do is they may either charge a flat fee up front or a percentage of the actual back pay, and it's all documented, and they're, the client, veteran, or spouse is legally liable to pay this once they sign into it. And any word of that, we want to let the federal authorities know about it.
I've got a couple of them. There's a couple of people here in town who've done the same thing. I have one lady came to me, and we helped her file the paperwork because she qualified, didn't have any restriction, didn't have to move assets really particularly. But somebody in the retirement home where she was at was charged by a firm out of Tennessee something like $12,000, but to do this. And the California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform are big advocates for you guys on this too. They keep track of this as well, and they will go after people who do this. But on aid and attendance, you have to have the need or be 65, plus you have to have there's a misconception, and a lot of attorneys have, that there's a certain limitation on assets. And I've come to find out over the last 5 or 6 years that limitation varies, particularly on needs. So to your knowledge, is there any hard, fast limit on assets?
I can't quote without having done the research on that prior to coming here, but the county office probably have it memorized, but they definitely have it in the regulation there. Okay. What I can speak to is that it's needs driven, and so therefore it's not going to be beneficial unless you're in a retirement home.
Right.
Because medical costs are deducted from your income, and usually those places are so expensive it'll nullify somebody's income to zero.
Right.
And then that's when the VA will kick in.
Then that helps them get on to into an assisted living facility or a board care home, nursing home as well.
Right.
They, if they go into a facility, and Medi-Cal is kicking in and paying, then the VA stops paying. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the dollar for dollar offset. And so
Okay.
the VA will have a formula. Well, they will determine how much more they will pay.
Right.
So the VA will determine a set amount, and Medicare kicks in, and if there's a gap, the VA can still cover that.
Still cover that.
And I just want to point out that it is open to the spouses of the wartime veteran also.
Yes, it is. It's not just the veteran. It's oftentimes the spouse. And so you had some information you wanted to get out before we take a break here.
Right.
And shift over to Kelly, contact information.
Yes, and I totally appreciate the opportunity to speak today, Robert, so thank you very much. There's 3 things that I always tell all veterans or agencies that deal with veterans. One is to ensure their veterans file a disability claim. They don't have to be a doctor, let the VA decide.
Yeah.
Number 2, register at the local VA hospital. And 3, sign up for My CalVet. The information should have flashed across the bottom of the screen. It's a web-based portal that's interactive that'll keep you connected to your benefits for life.
Okay, very good. Now, we're going to take a break. Thank you, David, for coming in. We're going to have you come back because you guys are a great wealth of information for our vets.
Love it. We'll continue to do it. Thank you so much.
All right.